Alrighty, boyos. Welcome back once again to another video. How you guys doing, guys? Today, we're going to be tackling a little bit of a controversial topic, and I'm definitely no stranger to that. We're going to be tackling the topic of 130 schematics, 130 guns, just the problem with 130 guns in Fortnite Save the World. So, this is a conversation that really hasn't been hosted too much here on YouTube, mainly on Twitch by the likes of Sly Gumby, Crittlecraddle, Cylon, Isherwood, people like that. Mainly just people over there have been talking about it, and those people play the game more than anybody. I mean, it's their job to play the game like 8 hours a day plus, you know, and these are the true real in-gamers whenever it comes, that kind of sounds funny, in-gamers whenever it comes to Fortnite Save the World. These are the people that I would say probably know the most about the game, and it's probably why they got flown out to Epic Games to begin with, because they play more on a daily basis, or at least, you know, for the first time. Maybe we might see some YouTubers out there as well, but you know, these guys have really been hosting the discussion of 130 schematics and 130 guns over there on Twitch. Nobody's really tackled it here on YouTube, so I figured that I would. Before we really get into this, I want to go ahead and like make it known that differing opinions doesn't exactly mean you hate somebody. I'm going to be talking negatively about 130 schematics and guns, obviously, in this video, just because a fellow YouTuber, you know, a fellow, my competition, quote unquote, does, you know, weapon reviews on 130s, that does not mean that I hate them. You know, just because I don't agree with 130 weapon reviews does not mean that I hate that content creator. You know, like, that might be how opinions work for you. That is not, that's not how it works, okay? Just because I disagree with somebody does not mean that I hate them. A1 Get This Money, Aiden Harris, you know, those two people in general, because they are the two biggest whenever it comes to that. I do not hate those people. Obviously, they are my, you know, friendly competition. I shout those guys out quite regularly, and I like their content in general. So just because I disagree with 130 schematics doesn't exactly mean that I hate them. So I just want to go ahead and make that known. This is the internet after all. I got to explain it to people like they're 4 years old, or else, you know, they'll flip out in the comment section and start a bunch of drama. So let's go ahead and jump into this, and let's go ahead and tackle the issue. Now, one more thing before we get into this, I'm actually doing a Christmas giveaway over on Twitter. If you guys are interested in that, first link in the description. There's going to be 10 winners, $200 worth of V-Bucks, 20 bucks each person, so feel free to enter into that. But without further ado, finally, let's get into my opinions and my discussion on 130 schematics in the game. Now, the whole reason that I am tackling this topic to begin with, I'm going to go and show you guys a little bit of my schematics, a little bit of gameplay of that, is because people ask me on a very consistent basis, hey, demonjoefrance, you know, you're power level 103 just about, you got a crap ton of 106s, a lot of those have max legendary perks on them. Why exactly haven't you made any of them 130? You obviously have the schematic XP, you obviously are an in-game player, why exactly don't you make any 130s? And that's a pretty easy question for me to answer, because there's a lot more cons whenever it comes to a 130 than there are pros. So it's really easy for me to answer that question. So I guess that's basically what I'm going to be doing here in today's video for you guys. Now, I do want to make it apparent that I do want to hear pros and cons from you guys personally in the comments down below. If you guys have anything else to support my argument, make sure it's known. And if you guys have anything that's against my argument, make sure that it's known in the comments down below. I do want to hear you guys' opinions on this topic, or else it would not be a discussion video. So let's go and jump into this. Let's jump into my list of pros and cons. You guys might have more, but these are my own personal ones that I came up with. So we're going to start with the pros because the list is a lot smaller, and then we're going to move on into the cons. So let's go and jump into this. So the pros, I got 3 of them. The number 1 pro is that it's the strongest that the weapon can be. A level 50 weapon at power level 130 is the strongest that a weapon can ever be. Also, before I get too deep into this, I know I keep saying before I do blah blah blah, I'm not talking about traps, by the way. 130 traps, 100% okay. It's very easy to get 130 materials for traps, just not for guns. So I just wanted that to be said. But yeah, it is the strongest the weapon it can be. That is the number 1 pro whenever it comes to a 130 schematic or a weapon. The next pro I have, which is very subjective, you know, it's very opinionated. It really can't necessarily be considered a pro, but I wanted to throw it in there because I couldn't think of another one, is that they are more rare than a 106, or they're more interesting than a 106. Really doesn't do anything for the 130, but, you know, I guess it's just like, hey, that's really cool. So yeah, the next pro is that they're useful in every single mission. And that's pretty much it as far as the pros are concerned. So let's go ahead and hop into the cons, and I kind of want to really talk about these in depth. So the number one con is that it's only useful, or it's only needed, quote unquote, in select missions. This is very true. The only time you are ever going to use 130s, if you are going to use them, is in a very, very, very select few missions. Outside of any 4 times missions, the only time 130s are quote unquote needed is if the difficulty has been increased. The only time that the husks are going to be a higher power level than your Shadow Shard gun is going to be in certain 4 times and in certain missions where the difficulty has been upgraded. That is the only time. There's no other time in the game where that's going to happen. It has to be a certain kind of 4 times and a certain kind of mission with upgraded difficulty. And even then, a 106 will still do adequate damage without the need of a 130. I really do want to make that clear. Another con for the weapon is that it just gives a false power fantasy. The definition is that a character the audience is presumed to want to be. Basically, if you guys think about Hercules, for example, say you're watching a movie about Hercules and you're like, dude, Hercules is so freaking cool. He's got the big old muscles. I want to be that man, you know, so manly. He looks like David Dean. Like, I want to be Hercules, you know? But you're not really thinking about the cons of the power fantasy, I guess you could say. You know, yeah, you want to be Hercules, but imagine, you know, your girlfriend, your lips are just so muscular that whenever you go to kiss her on the face, it just breaks her entire existence because of your muscularity. You know, that's the con right there. People see these 130s and they think about nothing but the pros. You know, it's the strongest it can be. It's more rare than a 106. It's good in all of these missions. But they don't think about the fact that it's only good in certain missions. And, you know, for the other cons I got written here, and another con is that the resources are only available if they're grinded for or traded for. You know, yeah, I could make my schematics 130 and I could go farm a few storm chests and come back and craft it and make a video on it. But what if I really like that weapon? For instance, my Rat King. On a day of a lot of grinding, I usually craft 2 to 3 Rat Kings because it's one of the only guns that I use. I really like the Rat King. If I made the Rat King power level 130, I would literally have to go out of my way either with trading or with farming to be able to sustain the fact that I want to keep using that weapon. If a majority of my schematics are 130s, I'm really going to be screwed because I'm constantly going to be having to grind to get 130 materials, and I'm going to be using my 130s to get 130 materials, and they're going to be breaking as I'm crafting them. So I always need to be able to sustain having 130s. So if you have a lot of them, you're pretty much screwed. You're always going to have to worry about getting the materials for it. You know, yeah, you can go trading and you can grind for it, but you're never going to just be able to play and then casually always have enough materials to use them. And that's kind of how it is whenever it comes to Shadow Shard and Obsidian in the late game. Another thing, and you know, this is one of the last cons that I have, one thing I do have a problem with is that 130 weapon reviews are not as accurate or as relevant. Imagine somebody is reviewing a weapon, and they're reviewing it at 106 Shadow Shard, but they decided that they're going to use that weapon in Canny Valley to review it. How many people would be huffing and puffing and typing on their keyboard? Pretty much everybody. Now, think about it like this. Say there's a 5th zone. Say it's called Joeyville. And in Joeyville, you get Sunbeam and you get Bright Core. Well, imagine somebody goes to review a 130 Sunbeam weapon, but they review it in Twine Peaks instead of Joeyville. How many people are going to be huffy and puffy about that? Everybody. But it just so happens that it's an exception for some reason because a 5th zone doesn't exist. But the logic still applies whether there's a 5th zone or not. You're using 5th zone materials and reviewing the weapon that you use to make out of those in the 4th zone. Obviously, it's going to be a lot better than it really should be. Another thing is that, you know, it's not as accurate. That's kind of my main point for the accuracy there, is that it's not really accurate in the sense that you're using it a zone before it's supposed to be used. But another thing is the relevancy. Less than 1% of people are even in Twine Peaks, let alone late Twine Peaks. Like, the only time 130s really apply in the current way that the game is set up is that you have to be in late Twine Peaks. You have to be somebody power level 100, done most of their SSDs, and all that kind of stuff. How many players are in late Twine Peaks right now? If you think about all the Stonewood players, think about all the Plankerton players, all the Canny Valley players, how many people are in Twine Peaks but are able to do power level 100 4 times missions? I think you got to be at least power level 94 for that. How many people are power level 94 in the game? A very, very small amount of people are. And how many people are very young in the game? Plankerton, Stonewood, and early Canny Valley. A lot. When people see 130s, they instantly want to use them no matter what. For some reason, you notice with a lot of people that a lot of people really want in on 130 schematics and guns. And it's very bad to kind of be promoting that, at least in my opinion. That's why I only do 106. I do max legendary perks, but max legendary perks, it's available to anybody in Twine Peaks. I'm not overstepping my bounds whatsoever whenever it comes to availability. Anybody can get max legendary perks as long as they play the game. Reddit will have you know that I only play the game 1 hour a day, but in reality I play the game at least 3 to 5 hours a day. So I'm always getting legendary perk up, I'm always getting reperk and stuff like that to level up these guns. The problem with 130s is that they are 5th zone material. They should be used in the 5th zone. When they're used in the 4th zone, for one, they're way more overpowered than they should be. For two, they're only useful and better than 106s in only certain missions. They're only needed in only certain missions. And for three, nobody even uses them. Like, the only people that really use 130s are YouTubers, and that's it. As far as schematics are concerned, how many of you guys in the comment section right now have a crap ton of 130 schematics but did not trade for the materials you used to craft them? A lot of people in Plankerton and a lot of people, in early Canny Valley and stuff that I've noticed have, gotten 130 schematics, but the only way that they can craft them is because they're constantly in the game trading. It's not accurate and it's not relevant, and at the end of the day, 130 guns, they're just not useful, they're not relevant, they're not accurate to the current way the game is built. There would have to be a 5th zone for you to truly show the power of a 130 weapon, because whenever you bring it to Twine Peaks and you use it in power level 100 missions, it's just nowhere near to what your average player is going to be experiencing. And if you make your average player want to get those 130s, they're basically getting screwed over in the long run, because now they can't craft them without grinding and trading and doing all this crap that's just completely unneeded. But guys, that's pretty much all I really want to say about 130 schematics and 130 guns. I'm not targeting anybody in particular with this commentary. I just want to tackle a controversial topic and tackle a topic that not many people want to talk about. And if people choose to hate me over that, it's something that I'm definitely used to. But if you guys, agree with me and whatever, then, I'd love to hear your guys' opinions, or disagree with me without hating me. I would love to hear your opinions in the comments down below. But guys, I'm kind of taking a little bit of a big risk with this video. I hope the community doesn't freak out about it. They probably won't, or I don't know. But guys, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Leave your opinions down in the comments down below. I would love to hear them. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.